Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Get Your Paint On here this Thursday, August 8th. Today I've got myself, Tony Konachek, and William Hungerford here in the booth.
Good morning.
You merely adopted the darkness. Sorry.
It's been that kind of morning, actually.
It kind of has been that kind of morning. All right, and let's get some announcements out of the way, you guys, before we get on to our model for today. Starting with the streaming schedule.
Bum, bum, bum.
Bum, bum, bum. We got Dev Hangout Wednesdays at 10 a.m. So that was yesterday if any of you guys were taking part. Get Your Paint On Thursdays. And the Staff Showdown, which is monthly. I don't know if we've scheduled it yet, but we will probably have that information for you shortly.
I believe it's actually scheduled for August 16th.
Which is
So a week from
from
tomorrow.
Yep. And then you can find all of our streams at twitch.tv/privateerpress or on Facebook. And next thing, we got the Hobby and Terrain blog. This is a blog that Danny updates with all of his terrain stuff very frequently. So you can check out all of his stuff, all of the updates that he had for the table that he was working on during leading up to Lock and Load, and then these new display boards that he's working on for our various different games.
And look, there's Will Hungerford at Gen Con.
Yeah, with Richard Anderson.
Oh,
Well, fancy folks.
hey.
Is that actually a Gen Con?
When was this taken?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I don't know when this was. I mean, obviously you should know.
Y'all
It's your
take-
face.
y'all taking
And you're
photos of
smiling at the camera.
Man, I just thought Danny was looking at me.
I mean, Danny oft looks at people.
Yeah.
All right, let's move on to our mini crates, of which we have 3 to talk about here. First one being the Shield Sister of the Order of the Wall, which ends August 19th, which is still part of the free VIP Bride of Arcadius mini crate. And then we've got our L5R mini crates. We've got the Doji Hotaru, which ends September 5th, with the same VIP subscription model, Shosuro Sadako. So get on to those if you guys are looking to pick those up before they expire. Then we've got our Savage mini crate. The character is Robert E. Howard. We got Dark Agnes, which is the first model, and King Conan, which is going to be the Savage mini crate VIP model. So, which is in fact what we are painting today.
I'm so hype.
So we're gonna be messing around with this guy. One last thing to talk about. Thank you, Tony, for not reminding me. We've got Mompoc My Store, which is going from July 15th to August 15th. So you got another week or so to take advantage of this. Basically, each store can post photos to our Facebook, to their Facebook, to our Facebook. Right? Confirming. Tony? For Mompoc My Store, they have to, says we can post photos to Facebook. Which Facebook do they post to? It's ours, right?
That's a good question. Do you know the answer? Hungerford is trying desperately not to laugh right into the microphone for some reason.
If you're looking for more details about the Mompoc My Way contest, go to privateerpress.com where you can find the complete announcement about it. Read all the details, how you enter, how many times a day you can enter, and everything you need to know. And that way you'll know exactly all the social media outlets you can post to, how to, and what we're looking for. Privateerpress.com, your source for all things privateerpress.com.
Hashtag Gen Con.
Hashtag Gen Con.
Thanks for making that awkward. That was fun.
All right, let's move along. Let's talk about some models that we're painting today.
Conan of
Conan.
Conan of Cimmeria.
So this is the VIP subscription model, like we just talked about. You'll get this guy along with your subscription for the 6 months.
How much Robert E. Howard have you read?
None.
How much Robert E. Howard have you read, Tony?
I read some when I was a teenager.
Yes.
I've been in and out through the comics. I've read quite a few of them, although I tend to get mostly distracted by all the dope artists that have drawn Conan throughout the years. And then I tried to read some Conan recently, and I was not able to get through the novel before I had to take it back to the library. Part of that was timing, and I tend to fall asleep when I read at night. But also, I find some of the writing to be a little little dense and difficult. When I'm on top of it, it's awesome.
So, I was not a big audiobook fella until recently, and that's just because the amount of travel I do. It's just nice to have them. And the first one I picked up, I got an Audible, and you get a book for free when you get on. So I picked up the Robert E. Howard Omnibus. So it is 48 hours
Oh my goodness.
of short stories and novels and novelette, everything. It starts off
For all of his characters.
It begins with King Kroll, and then it does a bit of Solomon Kane.
Okay.
But it is a Conan omnibus. So the first probably 3 hours of it is, in between every story, the reader gives you a history of where Robert E. Howard was in his life and when this story came out, where it was first published. You get like a good minute or two of like history. And before they do Conan, they go into some of his earlier works. But then once you listen to those, and it kind of just sets you up for where Howard started at, right? And then you get into the first Conan stories, and then it just goes and goes, and you start reading and hearing about all the really sweet Conan stories. And man, I'm a fan of old school. I like super weird sci-fi fantasy, like Ralph Bakski's Wizards out of 1977, and like old British sci-fi, like that kind of stuff. And I'm a fan of like very traditional like fantasy, like Tolkien, Howard, and stuff like that. So this audiobook, if you're looking to listen to some of Howard's works and you don't have the time to sit down and read because it is like you said, an older book, and if you're looking for lighter reading, it's not necessarily lighter reading. It's not difficult reading by any means.
No.
The reader who does it is really good, and he does voices, so you always know who's talking. Like when it's Conan, and when it's the other characters. And I think it's just a good 48 hours of Conan goodness, man. I like it a lot.
I'm trying to think how many commutes that is to work for me.
My commute in is 30 minutes. My commute out is an hour.
Yeah.
So, and I have a carpool. So I don't
Math wizards, how many trips do we have to make to work to listen to 48 hours of Conan?
Well, it sounds like 48.
It's an hour and a half.
Oh. Math.
But
Worry
yeah,
about that later.
and so, but obviously one of the most recognizable characters and one of the first stories he ever wrote. Like people think about Conan rising to become King Conan, but one of the first Conan stories, not the first, but one of the very first stories, is Conan as king. And it kind of goes into he was a barbarian. He is now in this position. And the first story is an assassination plot by he's come in, disposed the previous king, and taken over. And some of the political advisors of the previous king who have been showing like a good face to Conan are trying to assassinate him. And it's a really cool story. It starts off, very traditional and talks about Conan's kind of like, man, I hate being on the throne. Like I miss being able to fight and get out there and do stuff.
Does he kidnap a princess in this story?
He does not. Not in this one.
Okay.
No, this one is where he goes to sleep one night and he has a vision journey down a black hall of an ancient tomb where a spirit tells him about the location of a hidden sword that'll help him fight the demon that's been unleashed upon him. And when he wakes up and fights assassins, he's fighting like 7 dudes in his bedroom with just his sword. And then a demon comes out of nowhere and Conan beats the hell out of it.
I think this
Conan
is the same one I started reading.
Is dope.
Yeah.
And you should read it.
He's brutal. Jordan.
Yeah.
What color are you using to start? Let's talk about. I want to continue this conversation, but let's talk about some painting.
Yeah, I didn't want to interrupt that wonderful explanation that our dear Hungerford over here was giving everybody.
I just love Conan stories because, like I said, they're so weird. Like they just go like all of a sudden, like this is fantasy, and then like demons. Like it just gets weird out of nowhere.
So the skin tone we've got here is ember orange with a touch of murderous magenta. Is kind of the slightly darker midtone. I did this because I wanted a little bit more of a sun-tanned skin tone.
What's your mix ratio here? Are we 50-50?
No, not even close. We're talking like a majority ember orange with like just a dot of murderous magenta.
So we're like 95-5.
90-10.
90-10?
Yeah, 90-10.
I'm going to ask you, we're going to go to the palette, and I'm going to ask you to mix up that a little bit because I want to see how this goes down because I was all prepared
We have
to
a palette
hit
can?
midland
we got a
flesh and
palette
rin
can.
flesh. Look at this. This is amazing.
All right, so you got your sunny your ember orange here.
Okay. It's a lot of ember orange.
Yeah. And then gonna get this murderous magenta. And this is not. Oh, whoa! There we go. So it's not a lot.
Like a brush tip.
Yeah. And that might even be too much, to be honest. Yeah. See?
Yeah, it looks like it came out a little dark, a little red.
So
half a brush tip.
yeah. Like when I say a dot, I mean really, really, really a dot. Oh, everything's so squeaky over here today.
It is.
Still. Okay. So that looks to be all right. And then let's take some Carnal Pink, and we're going to mix that in.
And then the pink is just to lighten it up, but
Correct.
because it's pink, it still kind of helps. Makes it so it's not
Correct.
ends up being chalky.
Yep. So you get this nice smooth skin tone there.
This is what your approach. This is the base layer. Like this is what you're putting on as the base.
Yeah,
over
and then I
just the
have a
primer.
little bit of like darker shades here that I can use as well, right? And then if I want to make it brighter, I can add more Carnal Pink and get this lighter color. So I have a lot of flexibility using this skin tone.
So what is the benefit of doing this mixing technique for Conan versus just painting, say, flesh out of the pot?
So we don't really have a good skin tone right out of the pot to use for like a suntanned skin tone.
Yeah.
And I wanted something that's not in the normal kind of realm of skin tone colors that you see out of the pot.
Okay.
Plus, it's always good to experiment with making your own skin tones because it affords you a lot more flexibility over what you want the end product to look like.
So while we're letting you continue painting these skin tones on, we have some questions for you from Facebook and Twitch. Zach Krieger says, I got a question. How do you personally find the motivation to finish a model? I get to 70% finished, and I struggle to finish the model. Is this just a me problem, or do other people have this problem as well?
Nope, I have this problem all the time.
I also have this problem.
If you talk to a lot of the people that I paint around, you will find out very quickly I don't often finish projects. I tend to just start projects and then start more projects and never actually finish projects. I think one of the things that's been working for me to try and kind of push through that is just be focused on finishing something. Like always whenever you paint, you're like, okay, I need to finish this. I need to finish this model. Because if you're just in the moment of like, I want to paint, I want to just do stuff, like I tend to just jump around to whatever interests me at the time. When I focus on finishing something, then it's easier for me to get around to like actually finishing the model completely. So that's my recommendation. Give it a shot, see how it goes. May work for you, may not.
Breaking, for me, I
It's
tend
tough,
to find, when it happens for me, because that novelty wears off real fast. We're real excited for the new model, get it all built, get it all primed. It's all ready. It's a blank canvas. Start getting those colors on, making progress. Something else comes up. Either the miniatures becomes difficult, and I don't like how it's going, and so I don't want to go through the work of fixing it. Or sometimes you just kind of want to move on. But I find that sitting down and just like working on one section for just a few minutes, like just not having to be like, I need to blast through this whole thing and finish it right now, but just rather than working on something else, just pick up what I'm already working on, spend 5 minutes putting a base coat on or highlighting the hand or the bracelet or the boot, something like that. And either A, you'll get 5 minutes of work done on your model and eventually the model will be finished, or you'll kind of get in the mode past that initial I don't want to do it part, and just 5 minutes will get the brush in hand and get you moving, and then that might accidentally turn into 10 minutes or 30 minutes or whatever.
I approach it like I do the gym and a lot of the things. So I have I try to regiment my free time because I have very little of it. And so I have things I know I want to do. And when it comes to painting, I know the days I'm going to paint on and exactly how long I'm going to paint. It's like going to the gym. So I know the days I'm going to the gym and how long I'm going to be there and the exercises I want to do. Now, I enjoy going to the gym. But there are days where I might be sore, I might be tired, I don't want to do something. Like I don't want to do leg day, but I go and do it anyway because it's part of a larger project I'm doing. And I know I'm going to go in, I'm going to be there for 50 minutes or an hour, and I'm going to do these exact things. And painting can be the same way. Like, I enjoy painting, but some days I'm like, I don't want to paint. But I'm like, you know what? Today's a 30-minute paint day. So I'm going to spend my 30 minutes. I'm going to paint. I'm going to do the thing. And then it's only 30 minutes. It's the length of a TV show. Like, I'm just going to do this. And then I'm going to move on. And it's going to be worth my time in the end. I think sometimes you just have to power through, but I think a regular schedule helps you power through.
So, really quick, before we get into other parts of this conversation, to do these like deep shadows, I added a bit of browning to my palette down here, which some of you guys might have noticed a little bit earlier. I'm just mixing that into the darker tones of the skin tone.
Which kind of brown did you add?
Brown ink.
Brown ink.
Yeah, I'm just mixing brown ink into it. Add a little bit more on there. Yeah, I think one of the big things for me to like get myself to actually finish projects is because I paint so much for work. I don't really have a lot of, I have a good enough amount of free time that I can get stuff done, but it's hard to motivate myself.
Sure, you've got it different,
paint,
right?
Yeah, outside of work, right? So one of the things that I think was stopping me from being able to do that as much as I like was not having a wet palette at home. Because, it's one thing if I can just, like you said, pick up the paintbrush and paint for half an hour. Like that's eventually you'll just get stuff done. Or maybe that 15 minutes will turn into 3 hours, right? So I picked one up this weekend and hopefully that will really, or I picked one up the day before yesterday, whatever. Not this weekend. It's not the weekend yet. And having it at home will just give me more flexibility with my time to be able to just decide to paint if I have the itch, as it were.
I've actually never used a wet palette.
It's nice. It's a bit of an adjustment. It's if you're used to well palettes, it's very different, but it is good. It gives you more working time and a really solid ability to pick and choose where your colors come from. Because like I have this big gradient of color on here that I can pull from any part of it to paint with. So if I want my highlight again, I can come back here. If I want my midtone, I can come back here. Or my deep shade, I can go back here. So you really get all that flexibility in there to do whatever you want with it.
By the way, Striker 911 is in chat. We all got to meet Striker at Gen Con.
Hello.
And he brought us donuts.
I didn't get any of the donuts because I was so busy.
The donuts either.
And I only get to see him for like 5 minutes, and then I was in the middle of doing like a demo, or I was running around like crazy.
I took care of your donut for you.
Oh, did you?
Yeah.
Oh, thanks. I would like it back.
Because that's
Yeah,
the kind of
can I
that's
have
the kind
my
of
donut
friend I
back?
am.
I would like it back now.
That's not how that works.
We'll extract it.
We will extract it. Ugh.
Give me my multi-day old donut back out your body.
I don't want any part of that.
You're in the room, dog, and we're live.
Oh no. Hungry for what have you done?
You know what I've done. It's post Gen Con week. It's post Gen Con hungy. Like,
That's very true.
we were operating at 30% sanity and 0% filters.
Yeah. Well, I like as part of that, I have a few more gray hairs after this morning because we were getting ready for the stream.
Yeah.
Nice and calm, like I do. Just roll in, check everything, get it all turned on, make sure it's all working well, and it was not working well at all. And so we had to troubleshoot some equipment.
Yes.
We had to call in Teb,
Yes.
our IT professional and expert, and sit around and try to figure out what was going on. And we were not sure if we were going to be able to stream today as the clock counted down and we were making no progress. And then someone asked, and then I finally figured out what the problem was. Somebody asked, "Oh, did you fix it?" I says, "No, I didn't fix it. I just did what I should have done in the beginning."
Yeah.
And actually just turned off the mute button on our soundboard
Post Gen Con brain.
to make
Now,
it work.
this is pretty important. The stone throne that he
Yeah.
is sitting on. How are you painting that? What colors are you using?
So yeah, I'm using Iron Hole gray and what is it? Where is it? Where'd it go? Underbelly blue.
Okay.
So, and I'm doing a little bit of wet blending here. So I'm applying a first coat of paint. I'm going to do it on this side. Pretty thick and watery in the areas that I want that color.
Okay.
And then I'm going back in
Okay, apparently we don't have an iron hole.
with my
Splat.
highlight color. I just painted in a little bit there. And as I kind of push my brush tip into that wet paint, it starts to pull it together and blend down into the rest of this color.
Cool. I like what you're doing because I think the throne needs to be simple because your eye's going to get pulled to Conan himself, right?
Correct, which is why I went with gray for the stone.
And so you want the throne to be painted and look well, but you don't want it to stand out. So you definitely don't want anything that's like cray that draws your eye away
Right.
from
Right.
Conan.
Now, is this something where are you planning on doing like just a subtle little marble or stone texture on there?
I mean, so it's already base coated with zenithal, so it's got that texture in there.
Okay.
So if I use light glazes, it'll still have a lot of that texture in it.
Okay.
Also, if I continue using these rough blends, it'll continue having like a texture to it that's similar to stone, not quite the same, but it looks good enough. Because like using texture is a good way to, or using not so smooth blends is a really good way to show like texture on models.
Right. Okay.
The other thing as well is this stone bench that he's sitting on, the stone throne rather, is already textured. So using thin paints on it really does a good job of pulling out that texture that already exists. So I'm just
What's the next color?
Pushing.
So I said you have you said words. My God, post Gen Con. You read some Conan when you were younger, so you know some of it, but I don't expect you to know like a ton of it.
Sure.
Right? Like because it's been a long time.
Yeah.
For both of us since we read it back in the day. Is there a version of Conan that you can remember that you want to see made into a miniature post King Conan?
The only one that I really remember, because I remember being surprised because I was first saw the movie, and then read the books, but finding out that Conan was a thief,
Yes.
I think was the more surprising part because he's just this big, strong, burly, kill everything he encounters with a sword, it defeats it, but also just a nimble break into some places and steal things thief. So I think for your question, I would just go with Thief Conan. I want to see him sneaking in somewhere, but maybe with his sword back, all badass, waiting for something to pop out, but with treasure in front of him.
There's a couple scenes where he wears like a full garb that covers his face. Like he has like robes that covers his entire body and like a headdress that covers his hair and his face and everything, but he still has his blades underneath. So it's got like a very classic, almost like Middle Eastern look to how he carries himself. And I'm a huge nut about Middle Eastern mythology and stories. Like my favorite piece of literature is 1001, right? The Tales of Arabian Nights. And so I really love that aesthetic and that look. And there's a couple times that in the stories Conan was dressed similarly. At least that's how my mind's eye sees it. And so I hope one day we can do something like that.
Yeah, well, a lot of I remember from those stories, and then certainly in a lot of the comic art, and then the book that I was reading recently, like Middle Eastern influence on that story is all over the place.
Yep, absolutely. Patrick Wilson on Facebook says he feels that he always feel like I get more painting done when I'm away from home than I ever do at home. Right now, I'm painting a smorgasbord of Widower's Wood and Undercity for an IK RPG campaign I'd like to run when I get back.
Patrick Wilson, do you have children?
Let's just sit.
Because that's why I don't get anything done at home ever.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Because the kids?
Oh yeah.
You're the dad though.
Well yeah.
You can tell them to leave.
Yeah, that's true.
But
But
they
it's
don't
way
actually
more
go
fun
away.
to play some of the games I brought home at Gen Con.
Sure.
Well, you dropped me off after Gen Con.
Yeah.
They came running out onto the sidewalk.
Yeah.
And then, big hugs. They were very excited. And I felt so good as a parent. And then I got inside, and the first thing they started doing was ripping into my suitcase to see what I brought home.
Daddy
They
brought
didn't
home
actually
the candy.
care about me.
Yeah, you were Santa.
Yeah.
They wanted
Yeah.
to see what toys you brought.
Santa time. But I delivered.
So next Gen Con, do the same thing.
Just don't bring them in.
And then you go home and you've got the suitcase. And then when they open it, it's just full of what scares your children?
I don't know. Like,
Clowns. It's full of clowns.
maybe. I rather than straight fear, I tend to go for confusion. So like if my suitcase was just filled with like
Schrodinger's cats.
grape nuts, cereal boxes.
Well,
right?
they're kids. They're young. They start eating it.
Well, yeah, but it would still be like what?
What if they opened it inside was another suitcase, a smaller suitcase, and they opened it inside was another suitcase, and then it kept getting further and further. And when they got to the very tiny bottom one, which was like the size of like a shoebox, they opened it and there was a phone, and the phone rang, and it was you, and you just said, "Go to bed." That's how I will raise my children, through confusion and trickery.
I'm not surprised at all that would be a thing.
Oh yeah, they're gonna grow up. They will be the epitome of trust but verify. Trust but verify.
Jeez. Rough life.
Teach my kids how I was taught. Voodoo's real. Everyone's out to get you. Learn to run.
So you're adding highlights onto the edges here.
Yeah, so I'm just pushing these highlights up a little bit so you can see a little bit more of this.
Is this just more underbelly blue?
Yeah.
Sweet.
Just make some more underbelly blue.
I like that color like this. It's definitely very stony. I never considered using it like that. Patrick does have two children, Bjorn Ukfrick and Oslo Ragnar.
Those are dope names. I like those. Oh, and Bjorn likes to paint. That's fun. I love painting with my kids. They tend to take over the process, though, especially when the little one gets involved, because he's still too young and unaware. I do not let him use acrylic paint, so we have to bust out washable paint.
Finger paint?
Yeah, well, a little better than finger paint, but yeah, it's a washable paint, so it dries on. So our mini cabinet is half full of stuff that I work on, and then half full of stuff that they've painted. It is fun to paint with them, but yeah. It tends to make it very difficult for me to actually do any real work on my own painting.
Again, have you considered telling them to leave?
There is a lock on the door
Yeah.
to prevent anyone from coming in, and I don't know why we don't use it. It just seems like a great option.
What is Mary doing during all this? It seems like the children are constantly harassing you.
Still in bed. That's kind of the whole point, right?
Oh.
Like you just keep the children corralled over here, give her some
space,
time alone. Yeah.
Let her do her thing. Okay.
She's a great attentive mom, so she also needs her time.
Sure. Well, good guy Tony, easily the best of us.
And so Jordan.
Yeah.
So on that top there, when you're like adding those, like your brush strokes look like you're kind of doing a little stippling.
Yep. This is exactly what I'm doing. Just bobbing up and down with my brush to get the stippled texture on. And then it gets you this. We'll take this off so you guys can see it
So
better.
that's looking awesome. Oh, you could. I mean, you could go. How crazy could you go with this technique of like adding some color glazes and just kind of doing these wet blends before it started to be distracting?
Wait, could you hold that top view a little bit longer, Jordan? I don't think people really got to appreciate how amazing that looks.
See if I can get a good angle on it.
Yeah.
I don't know if you can see it in the camera.
You can mostly see it in the camera that it legit looks like stone. That's really good.
Get your stone on.
Get your stone on, bro.
So it's a lot of that. And then one of the things that I kind of want to talk about here as well is what's called color filters. So one of the ways that you can add a lot of dimension to things that you're painting and pull it more into real life is adding color filters to what you're painting. So this realistically is just 3 colors technically. It's Thamar Black, Iron Hull, and Underbelly Blue.
Okay.
Underbelly Blue is a bluish color, right? So you have some elements of other colors other than white and black, but everything in the environment has lots of color to it. And stone does as well. It's got greens, it's got browns, it's got all sorts of different colors in it. So one of the ways that you can emulate that is by adding color filters. And what a color filter is it's basically just a really, really subtle glaze of color onto certain parts of the model. Now, because I'm using green, I'm going to focus it a little bit towards the bottom of the model. So it looks like some moss or some sort of
It's natural,
living, natural
organism
is in there. And this is something that the camera probably will not pick up because this is some pretty subtle stuff. But the more you do it, the more the element that you're painting really comes to life. And you can be a little bit more focused with it by increasing the saturation. So doing less of a glaze and more of maybe a wash. But you want to be targeted with it. So, I'm putting this green, keep it off the top there.
And so very specifically, you're not just brushing this over the entire surface.
Correct. Yeah, I'm picking, certain specific locations for it to be. And they don't have to be there for a reason. I think you can kind of see this green in here. But just find spots where it looks good and just play with it until you like it. And starting really subtle and then moving up from there is a really good way to kind of build that color out.
So Gecko in a Suit had asked for a video for painting stone, which we had made previously. So I posted that link into the chats. That method is slightly different than different recipe than the one that Jordan is doing, but the concepts are also very similar. So between that and this, which we might be able to turn into a brush tip, once we're done here, just give you a couple of techniques to put in your toolbox for painting some stone.
So we have 2 questions to ask you, Jordan.
Yeah.
1, Randy Miller on Facebook says,
what's up?
What are your plans for the base?
I don't have plans for the base right now. But if I had thought about it beforehand, I probably would have constructed some sort of stone base for him.
What about blood?
I mean, yeah, that works too.
The giant blood effect.
You can always do that.
Vandebeest on Twitch says, how do you select what colors you use for color filters?
You can kind of use whatever. Generally speaking, using more natural colors is where you want to be, but you can kind of use whatever, right? So greens and browns and blues are usually really good, and tend to add a lot of earthiness to whatever it is that you're painting. Blues, if you're like doing something where water might be reflecting on parts of the surface, or you want something to be a little bit colder in tone, right? That's where you'll want to put blue in. But I think playing around with it and using using natural observation. So go look at a stone bench is a great example, right? If you look at a stone bench in a park, generally it's gray. But in this gray, there's a lot of cool blue tones. There's a lot of green from, all sorts of different,
The notcher.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I went backpacking recently, and there was a small stone little structure out where we were, and we went to like the tip of the peninsula, and so we were way out there, away from everything, and this little stone thing had been out there for who knows how long, and it was just 100% green. Like you could tell that it was made of stone, but it looked like it was made of green stone from all the stuff that had just been kind of growing in there over the years.
Right. And that's where you can go like a little heavier, right? You can actually stipple green paint onto parts of the model and then, a brighter green paint to show this moss or this, natural
Funk.
funk.
The natural
that's
funk.
on there. So that's kind of the entry point on filters is just it's a way to add color to your model that will add a lot more depth and character to it.
Sure.
Without a significant amount of work or time investment.
So there's a couple things that really represent Conan, and one of them I know might be a little tricky for people. Obviously, the skin tone, he's got that darker skin tone, right? Obviously, he has his hot pink and electric blue diamond checker pattern cloak, which we all know is very easy to do.
Is that actually a thing?
No.
Okay.
And
Thank God.
but no, I was gonna say his black hair.
Yeah.
So, what is your recommendation for painting black hair that still looks good?
It's tricky, for one. And I can kind of do this here and do a demonstration on how I would do it.
Okay.
So, generally with black hair, especially straight black hair, you want to paint it black and then paint the highlights in like some form of gray and make it look really reflective. And that gives you this really good glossy black hair that's really effective. This is Thamar black, by the way. Just straight painted on here.
So you said glossy, but how glossy? Like, you wouldn't put a gloss varnish over this, would you?
No. You're using the reflection that you're creating with this. You are using grays and whites to create the appearance of a reflection off of the hair.
Got it.
And when you do that, it looks glossy, even though it's not got gloss varnish on it.
Cool. Alec M. Luda on Facebook wants to know, how many pieces is King Conan?
2.
Wait,
His
is
him and the bench throne are one piece, and then the sword and his hand is one piece as well. So like everything here is one piece. This is a separate piece right here.
So
Which is kind of impressive, actually.
we got a couple things, because I know we are getting close to the 11 o'clock mark. By the way, let us know whenever you want to do P3 painters, Jordan.
Yep.
Whenever you're a good stopping point.
Probably another 5 minutes or so.
Probably another 5 minutes. Gecko in a suit, or if you want to mispronounce it, Geckoin suit, says, question for Jordan. Mm-hmm. Do you prime models for Get Your Paint On with airbrush or with rattle can?
Rattle can. I prime basically everything with a rattle can. I have used airbrushable primers in the past. I don't particularly care for them. If you're careful with a rattle can, you can basically get anything done that you need to, that you would want to do with a
Also,
airbrush.
less cleanup than an airbrush. Just snap
Yes.
that lid back on
Yep.
and done.
I'm gonna fix something real quick.
Fix it real quick.
Yeah, it's a really weird angle to get in to paint this mustache, so I'm just gonna paint it real quick. And then put it back.
We also have a question, which I'm curious about too. Someone thinks that Conan's biceps are missing some flesh tones, but then I was thinking,
Oh, they are.
Okay,
They actually are.
Okay, I
They
wasn't
100% actually
I couldn't
are.
quite see from here. I was like, maybe it's maybe it's just like some kind of skin tight undershirt.
Nice catch, folks.
Skin tight undershirt.
Yeah, I don't know.
King Conan.
Yeah,
Wandering Samaria.
Sumerian lycra.
Yeah, just the Hyperborean age.
Yeah.
Got that
Got to have trade somehow, right?
wearing that Gucci.
Yeah. I mean, it wasn't very popular.
No.
That's why
It's
they were
terrible
That's why
armor.
they're always at war.
Terrible armor. Don't wear skin tight T-shirts.
It will not protect you from a sword.
Yeah, you might look good in the club, but a sword will go through your chest.
You're gonna look fantastic in the club.
Yeah, but you, like, when a sorcerer rolls up and he's got a ring of power and he's using the power of set to throw snakes through your head, like, skin tight shirt's not going to do anything.
I don't know. Synthetic materials might help you.
They won't.
No?
No. Trust me, I come from the place of voodoo. Like,
I come from the place of voodoo.
there's a reason so many people down south wear overalls.
Oh my goodness.
Better protection.
Y'all are so
Blue jeans help stop snakes.
All right. Had to mix up a little bit more of that skin tone.
So what other colors are you thinking you're going to start adding to his cloak and clothing? Are you going to keep him like super drab? Are you going to go colorful?
I think I'm going to go with leathers for the most part. I might do a little something different for his cloak, but we'll see as this kind of comes together.
I mean, are you trying to make him just look like classic Conan?
Yeah.
So you're not going to go with the hot pink and hot electric blue checker pattern?
No, God,
Okay.
no. You know how much of a pain, like, that's a pain to do normally.
Mm-hmm.
It's even more of a pain to do when the cloak is, like, all up around him.
Yeah, no, that's why I said it, because
Just
it
like
looked
all
like
of this
it
is
looked
just
like what would be a nightmare.
Miserable,
Yeah.
yeah.
But
so, no.
you're a
I prefer
professional
not to
painter.
do that.
You paint 8 hours a day. If anyone could do it, it's you.
Yeah, that doesn't mean that you should do it.
That's not how we do things.
Well, that's true. that is a fact.
Your scientists were so preoccupied if they could do it, they never stopped to wonder if they should.
Do it.
I don't know what accent that was, but it was definitely not Jeff Goldblum in Jurassic Park.
No. No, it was not. It was something, though.
Also, Bane singing "You Merely Adopted the Darkness" at the beginning of the show. I also don't know what was happening there.
Born to it.
Molded by it.
Oh, goodness. I haven't watched that movie in forever.
You should.
I really should. I think it's on Netflix now.
Do you feel in charge? God, I will never be baller enough to pull that move on somebody. Just put my hand on their shoulder. Do you feel in charge? They'd be like, "Stop touching me."
It's a 2-foot rule. Come on, personal space.
What color are you using right now to do the fleshy highlights?
That's that same mix that was on the palette.
Same mix? Okay.
Yeah, you can see I'm pulling it from here. Just add a little bit of water to pull it back up.
Alec M. Luda says, "I have a challenge for Jordan on stream. Do a Bob Ross and paint an entire model in a shade of gray."
I mean, yeah, I guess I could. I don't know how exciting that would be for the chat. It's up to you guys. And then there was a huge outcry for painting something gray tones.
You could do it in all values and then do a mix of warm and cool grays.
Yeah. Or use it as a base and then use glazes on top of it, which is a well-known and established art technique.
How many shades of gray do you think you could get on there? More than 40?
More than 40.
20, 25.
Maybe more than 51.
And then like
Maybe more than 51.
Maybe
And
more.
then like
51.
25 more.
75?
No, it's 25 plus 25.
That's 50.
Yeah.
I don't understand the reference. Speaking of Audible. Inappropriate for birthday parties.
Audible is great, though. Being a person who has a relatively long commute myself, it is a nice thing to have in the car.
Audible?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I've always been a big book guy.
I also listen to a lot of podcasts.
I do a lot less of that than I used to. I still enjoy a podcast from time to time, but not.
I mainly listen to music, but it depends on if I'm carpooling or not. Because when I listen to music in the car by myself, it is quite loud. Like I'm like volume. My little display says max, and I'm like, shut up. We're not done. We're not done yet.
We're not done.
We're not done here. But then when I got people in the car, I figure they don't feel like listening to KMFDM or Pigface at maximum decibels. So instead, also my music tastes real fast. It's like there's a little bit of industrial, and I'll put on like some other stuff. But every now and then I'll put some Zydeco on, and let me tell you, when I forget my volumes all the way on, and I put some Zydeco blaring at max decibels, that accordion hits, and everyone's confused as to what's happening. Looks like people are really interested in the grayscale thing, Jordan.
Oh goodness! All right.
They said you can make a Supreme Guardian, or we don't have to do a Supreme Guardian. That's really big. We could do like an Ancestral Guardian with just grays, and that would probably look really great.
I could probably find something I could do in grays.
Or you could get weird and do like a piggyback in all grays.
That would be weird. I mean, that would work pretty well.
That would be really cool looking. Just have them in all gray, and then like half the model just like glazed out to a color, like they were either fading in or fading out.
Yeah, yeah. Or just like have that Grimkin glow and everything else being grays.
Oh yeah.
That could be sick.
Right, so I'm adding a little bit of Mammoth White highlight here just to push the highlights on the skin tone real quick.
Oh, I missed it.
There
we go.
Help define some of these muscles a little bit more.
Looking real good. It's less than an hour done already. Looking real good. That flesh looks sick.
Yeah, it's one of those things that, like, as long as you represent the shapes and the values, so the brightness and stuff properly, like, you can really get a model painted really fast. And like his hair, I'm gonna go back to that really quick.
Does he have facial hair?
He does.
He's got a big
He's
old
got
beard.
a big old beard. And
So what's funny is that in that angle right there, you can't see the beard. Because, I figured Conan does. So all you see is the fist, but you see the mustache up above his fist. Mm-hmm. So right there just looks like Conan's rocking a huge stash with no beard.
no, he's definitely got a beard.
Yeah, I can see it from that angle.
Rock whatever he wants.
He can rock whatever he wants. It's Conan.
Yeah, I mean,
Man's king.
well, he was king, and then he wasn't, and then the boy's been through a lot. He done a lot of stuff.
This specific one, in fact, is king, though.
This specific one is, in fact, king.
Yeah. All right.
Should we take a look at some P3 painters?
Yeah, I think now's a good time.
It's about, we've got
Towards
about
the end of the stream. I'm gonna wait for Tony.
Power Gorge just joined us on Twitch and said, I'm late to the stream. No. Did I miss P3 Painters? No, you came right on time.
Right on time.
I mean, right on time for the end of the stream, maybe.
Yeah.
Which is P3 Painters.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Perfect timing.
All right, here we go.
All right. So, first thing, while I like the explosion of smoke coming out of the normal version of this model, I do like that somebody took it off. This is really clean, and the leathers on this is really nice. This is actually from the same person who painted a Toro a while ago that we showed off. And he did this really nice non-metallic metal on there. It's really sharp, and it's nice to see the Warcaster looking the same.
Yeah, it's very good. I think it's really, really cool to use that kind of amber color for the glow in the alchemical vials, because my natural tendency, and I think a lot of other people, is to make stuff like that pop. So you'd be like, bright glowy blue or a bright glowy green or something, so it just stands out and feels all weird. And in this case, Sebastian actually used like a color that really complements well with the rest of the colors on here, so it kind of feels more like it's more a part of the whole whole outfit.
It's beer. He's got a thing of beer and a bunch of. He's at a steampunk convention. He's in cosplay. He's got look a little fanny pack on the front of him. That's where he's keeping his snacks. Look, see it right there. Boom. He's like he opens that and he gets like his little corn nuts and then he chugs down some beers and they just think it's part of the costume, but really he's getting lit.
Where's his badge? Prom badge on.
He ain't got no badge.
With a costume that
You
lit,
don't need
dog,
no
you don't need a
badge.
badge.
You just show up, they let you in, man.
Oh wow, that dude has got beer everywhere. He's getting crunked up at the show. Gonna get kicked out for falling through a booth. Not that that's ever
There it is.
happened.
So there's the Toro. Okay, sweet. I didn't actually look and see all the rest of the photos that are here.
Sebastian, your stuff looks great.
Yeah, this looks really good.
Very nice. All right, I got one more.
We got one
We
more.
got one more. So I picked this one because you don't actually see a lot of folks painting the studio colors on Mompoc, which I love, by the way. I think that's really cool that people have kind of made it their own, right? But having seen this, I really like this. This is really well done. And it's nice to see the studio recipe every once in a while.
That's like it's a tight job too, seeing
Yeah, it's really clean.
seeing everything together, and like even the I can't remember the name of those front units, but like how their mouth openings in the front kind of like bloom out and up and over, and the way they're highlighted makes them look very cool.
This is from Hobby Night in Canada. So Hobby Night in Canada, your stuff looks super good. And hey, if you're interested, if you go on Amazon, you can get nail polish acrylic shelves for like $10. They hold about 60 paints each, and they make a very nice, neat little display so you can keep all your paints organized.
Also, you don't need them. I don't have them.
I
just
like to
fine.
tell people about them because a lot of people think you have to spend a ton of money on paint organizers. And I see people all the time say,
Yeah.
I want to do something. And whether they're happy with what their space looks like. And I think that's fine. If it works for you, it works for you. But I like to let people know about those things because they're super nice.
I have a box,
Yeah.
and I keep it next to my paint table.
Yeah.
And then when I'm ready to paint, I open the box and I pull out what I need. Because otherwise I have a tendency to let them all collect. Because even if I had a shelf, they all just end up down on the table in front of me. And so then when I'm done, they go back in the box.
I have this big, I got two of those acrylic things, the little acrylic nail polish shelves. And I have, I think, 160 paints total. Just all lined out. But yeah, a box on the floor.
So I got a question for the chats then. What items do you use to organize or add to your painting kit that are perhaps inexpensive and surprising? Like you kind of opted to not go get an expensive version of something. You just kind of got
Just life hacked it.
Yep, like exactly.
Yeah, no, I need order at home.
So I'm just putting in this first layer of highlight here on his hair. You can kind of see right here how it's starting to get that brightness on the top of his head. I'm going to pull this over to the other side, match it up. Oh, there's no good angle to do this.
Gecko in his suit says, I have a triple layer scrapbooking materials box for the paints, ran out of room, and I can use mini crate boxes for bits and terrain scraps. And Privateer Press staff Hanley says, I buy expensive accessories for my painting station in the hopes that it will motivate me to spend more time painting. It does not. See, sometimes you just got to go with what works.
I will say that for me over the years, the best thing is to have some sort of dedicated space. So it requires very little effort to sit down and work. Doesn't have to be very big, but just your brushes are there.
Yeah.
Your paints are there, and you can just sit down and paint for 10 minutes. It's not very good for painting if you have trouble getting the time in, but you have to set up for 15 minutes before you actually get to touch brush to a miniature.
Yeah, exactly. No, my hobby desk is, I paint far more now that it's a few years back. I made it its own little spot.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I have a standing desk upstairs in my room that I use whenever I want to paint. home.
Riker's Iron says he has an IKEA breakfast tray, keeps his stuff on to move around the house and paint and hobby on. It's only $13.
That's a great idea.
I haven't been to IKEA in a hot minute. We've got like a mega store here.
Forget breakfast in bed. Painting
IKEA in bed?
Why would you paint in bed? You might spell paint in your bed.
Yeah, but at least you're painting.
In bed?
Yeah.
I don't know, man.
You watch TV in bed. Do breakfast in bed. Read in bed.
We live very
Painting in bed.
We live very different lives.
No,
don't we?
I don't like being in bed. I'm always up. I hate
Like
that.
being
Yeah.
in bed.
When I'm awake, honestly, whenever I wake up, the last thing I want to do is stay in bed.
Yeah, painting in bed seems like a really bad idea, especially if you've got kids, because they're gonna run in bed and jump on you and be like, "Daddy, where's the suitcase full of toys?" I don't know why your kids have that accent either, but that's just how they sound now. Daddy, I want some toys, and then there's just red everywhere, and then Mary comes in, she's like, "The children are bleeding," and you're like, "No." I'm sorry, it's still post Gen Con. I'm not fully recovered yet.
I don't think I will be for another week or so.
I'm getting out camping this weekend.
Nice. Gecko in a Suit is reiterating
To
on Twitch
recover.
to not paint in bed, and they have a cat.
I had a cat, and he used to jump on my paint table and dip his hand in my dirty paint water and
then
lick
lick
it
it?
all the time. And he would never spill it. He would never knock over the bucket.
Uh-huh.
But I would always come back and sit down at the paint table, and there would just be like wet splat. Like the miniatures would be like knocked over, whatever's on top, but he would never spill it. He was very daintily just licking his hand. Yeah.
What color are you using for that fur, by the way?
This is rucksack tan.
Rucksack tan. Looking good.
Just trying to break up his chest and his hair a little bit so we can get a little bit more definition there.
Cool.
I need a darker color.
We might have to start wrapping it up. I think we're just about
Yeah, we are at 11
just
o'clock.
about to hit our
We can
time.
wrap
Well,
it
we
up.
started a little late.
Yeah, I mean, it's 11:06 now, so we started a little late, and we're going a little late.
Yeah, Jordan didn't have his act together. It was definitely not my fault
Yeah,
in
no,
any way
totally.
whatsoever.
Mhm. Yep,
it was
no, definitely not.
Jordan
Yep,
was
all my
not
fault.
ready
Mhm.
to go.
Yep.
Did you like that when I came down to get you to bring you up here?
Yeah, you're just like, your stream starts in 1 minute.
Yeah. I just walked down, and Jordan's like,
My first reaction was, oh, cool. We got it fixed then?
There was nothing to fix. You were just late.
Uh-huh. Yep. I appreciate you notifying me that I was late. Mm-hmm.
Anytime.
And I'll attempt to be here on time more.
and sending me down to deliver the message with all the tact that I have. Like, just walked out. Your show starts in 1 minute. I turned away and walked back upstairs.
This is Thornwood Green, by the way, that I'm mixing into the rucksack tan
Ooh.
for this shade.
I'll give a splat on that. What was the other color that went with it?
Rucksack tan. Oh, Striker 911 says he has a $20 LED magnifying glass to help with smaller stuff. I want to get one of those dope like headsets that has like the crazy looking Egon and like
Oh yeah.
telescopes on them.
Yep.
And I don't know what I'll use it for.
I've used magnifying glass in the past. One of the lamps on my desk is a big magnifying glass, and it does help a little bit to see, but I find that there's like a dissociation of actually doing it. It feels like I'm not looking at my actual hands, and it makes it a little harder to do.
This is Menoth White Highlight, by the way, that I'm mixing into this highlight.
Man, you were going all out. You're like, I got 3 minutes left. I'm going to paint this entire fur.
I mean, why not?
Well, Doukas MERP.
That's
Doukas MERP?
That's what I'm talking about.
I'm trying to pronounce their name on. Is it Dok? No, it's not. There's an SA after that. A user on Twitch. I'm gonna go Doukas MERP says, "Oh, Doukas MERP. Okay, I can't use magnifiers. My hand-eye coordination goes out the window with them. So yeah, they have the same issue you do." Doukas MERP. Okay, got it right.
It's like a doctor doing laparoscopic surgery. You got to look over here while your hands are doing something in front of you. but you have to watch what you're doing on a monitor. That's what it feels like through the magnifier.
But Doukas MERP, there's another A after the S between the M and your name, so that's why it confused me, because I read it as Doukas MERP, but when I went to say it, I was like, wait, that says Doukas MERP. And that's my story.
And I'm sticking with it. That's my story. Final answer.
Final answer. You've done a tremendous amount of work on this Conan in a very short amount of time.
Just a real quick tabletop Conan.
Tabletop Conan. There's no game for him.
So,
So
still a cool dude.
It
He's
is
got a
cool.
sword on a throne. Use him for whatever you want.
use him to decorate your War Machine and Hordes models. Put a King Conan riding like a piggyback on top of a little gnome. Replace the old witch.
Riot Quest Conan. That's what Gecko in a Suit says.
I don't have the rights. He is kind of Vlad-like, isn't he? Brooding, strong.
Mm-hmm.
He has somewhat frilly pants. I like it.
Yeah, I don't actually have like brown paint up here. I just have brown ink. So trying to paint this without brown has kind of been.
So before we get out of here,
Tough.
we have a question from the chat, and I'm gonna throw this one out. If you could have anything from sci-fi or fantasy from a book or comic made into a miniature, what would it be?
Oh my goodness.
I have two.
That is a question.
I have two answers. What do you got, Tony? We'll let Jordan think on it.
Mine's not very original.
What is it though?
I like aliens.
Well, good news. They make
Yeah,
that, by the way.
Like the
that,
classic.
that exists.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I know, but it'd be cooler if we did it.
Yeah. My answer is either Silent Hill or Masters of the Universe.
Oh, Masters of the Universe. That's right. I forgot about that.
Jordan? And I'm thinking of things that don't already have miniatures in some way.
Yeah,
like
we were talking about that the other day. If someone knows about Masters of the Universe miniatures, hook us up.
they don't.
please.
There aren't any. And this has to be something that there aren't already miniatures for, because otherwise there's a lot of answers we probably would have already
Right.
given,
I'm trying to think of things that I'm interested in that would make good miniatures.
Doki Doki Literature Club.
I don't know. Maybe Stormlight Archives would be kind of cool.
Sure. Yeah.
Some interesting stuff there in that book series.
Yep.
Sci-fi. I mean, The Expanse is kind of cool. Be
Yeah,
interesting.
it is.
Get some cool ships.
Is that the cool ship noise and the hand motion? This has been a weird stream.
Yeah.
You could tell that we're all like
Exhausted.
yeah. The dev chat yesterday was like kind of normal, but then now we're all just like, oh god,
Post Gen Con Blues.
I wanna sleep for days.
All right, Jordan.
Yeah, sorry. I'm just like doing stuff. So.
Wrap us up.
All right, folks. Thank you so much for joining us here today and watching us paint. Excuse me. These guys are just doing nothing over
We
here.
don't do anything at all. Sit here and drink my coffee.
Yeah. We'll see you guys next week. And yeah, I don't know what we're painting yet, but we'll find out and we'll let you know.
All right.
Thank you.
The city is yours.
Thanks for watching.
Merely adopted the darkness. I was born in it. Molded by it.